Good evening. Welcome to the business meeting of the Florence City Council. Please stand. We pray for the wisdom to make decisions that are beneficial to the people represented here. Empower us to speak honestly, reflect wisely, and vote with integrity. We seek your guidance tonight. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Here.
Ms. Chambers?
Here.
Mr. Wynn?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Ms. Cable?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Next, we have revised our agenda, so I just want to make sure I go in the right order here. We have a swearing in. Chief Mallory.
Thank you, Mayor. Just stand right there. Thank you all for coming tonight. Tonight we're here to swear in a new officer to the Florence Police Department, Alexander Cly. Alex is 32 years old and currently resides in Crestview Hills. He is a 2011 graduate of Cooper High School. After high school, Alex served in the United States Air Force for 2 years. Alex comes to Florence with almost 3 years of experience with the Alexandria Police Department. He is currently completing our field training program, and we are very excited to be aiding Alex and his experience to our department. So please join me in welcoming Alex to the Florence Police Department. And Mayor, do your oath.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as you remain a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute the office of police officer for the city of Florence according to law? And that do you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution you have not fought a duel within this state nor out of it, nor have you acted as a second in carrying out a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you assisted or aided any person thus offending? And do you further solemnly swear that you will endeavor to the best of your ability to detect and prosecute all gamblers and others violating laws against gaming, so help me God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Introduce any family that came with you tonight?
My mom came, my stepdad, my dad, my son, dad's girlfriend, my aunt, little sister, my brother. Thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing.
It is my pleasure to call on Principal Ryan Birch from Florence Elementary. I had an opportunity to come over there to their campus and help the fifth grade students who were transitioning to middle school, and they did an excellent job. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Florence Elementary. That way, and pull the, yes, and pull that
Gotcha.
towards you.
All right.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
Thank you. As the mayor said, my name's Ryan Birch. You have to excuse me if if I'm a little nervous tonight. This is not my typical audience. I have no problem getting up in front of 600 little ones and making a complete fool of myself. In fact, a couple years ago, I kissed a real live pig, and that was easier than coming before you and speaking today. But I hope to make this kind of a regular thing, maybe twice a year, where I can come in and give council an update about the state of Florence Elementary. First of all, I want to say thank you very much to the mayor and to the council for giving me a few minutes of your time here just to make you a little more familiar with Florence Elementary and some of our progress and some of our challenges. If you can go to the next slide, please. So there's a couple slides that we missed. I made some changes right after school. But first of all, a quick history of Florence Elementary. Florence Elementary has been an integral part of the Florence community since 1932, so we're creeping up on 100 years here. It started out as 1st through 12th, I believe, and then it transitioned, once Boone County High School opened up, it transitioned into grades K through 8, and eventually the old building became Florence Elementary, and students in grades K through 5 attended there, and that's how it's remained since the opening of Boone County High School. The new Florence Elementary building was built in 2001, and one of the things, I really wish I had this picture to show you, one of the things that I'm most proud of about Florence Elementary is how it is such an integral part of the community. There's a lot of tradition and a lot of history. In fact, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 staff members who are currently working at Florence Elementary who also attended as students. So that's kind of a cool thing. And I had pictures of each of them as students and then as teachers. And one that I was particularly proud of was our SRO, Chris Combs, who I had his 4th grade picture. And Miss Golly put him front and center in the class, probably because she knew she had to keep an eye on him. But he's our SRO. He attended Florence Elementary, and now he's there as one of our staff members. And so it just the sense of community and tradition that Florence Elementary has is something that I'm very proud of. If you could, I want to go over the state of the school very quickly. This is the same information that I present to our site-based council and to our faculty every month. You can see our total enrollment is just over 600 students, and you can kind of see for this year how it's pretty much maintained that level. We gain a few, we lose a few, so it stays pretty consistent, about 610 throughout the year. If you go to the next slide, this shows our enrollment by grade. So as you can see from here, our kindergarten and our 2nd grade is our largest group, and it's kind of in disproportion to some of the other grades, which makes planning a little bit difficult, but we're figuring it out. If you go to the next slide, please. This is our attendance over the last year. The district goal is 96% attendance. We're creeping up on meeting that, and we've put some initiatives in place to try to increase that, and we're actually doing better this year than we have done in previous years because of some of those interventions that we put in place. Next slide, please. So this chart shows some of the challenges that we have at Florence. I put the Florence Elementary in the left column there, the Boone County district average, and then the state average. So as you can see from the chart here, we are significantly above the district and state average of our economically disadvantaged students, as well as our English language learners. Our students with disabilities are higher than the state and the district. Our homeless is significantly higher. Our kindergarten readiness rate when the kids come in is significantly lower. However, we're holding our own with the the English language learner attainment rate and the level of their achievement. We're above the state and district average on that. And our attendance rate is pretty much in line with the district and above the state average. So we do have some challenges, but one of our biggest challenges is our diversity, but that also, strangely enough, ends up being one of our greatest strengths as well, because there's so many learning opportunities for the students to learn from each other and to get a general worldview that is different than definitely when I was in school. Next slide, please. This is a screen capture from our Panorama survey over the last 5 years. The Panorama survey is a social-emotional survey that we give to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders 3 times a year. And this is one of the things I'm most proud of because our 5-year trend is trending upwards in each one of those 7 categories that our survey measures. And that's definitely something that I'm proud of because I feel like those needs have to be met before students are in a position where they can learn. They have to know that they're taken care of. They have to have good supportive relationships with the adults in the building, and they have to be able to do some of those things for themselves before they can really turn their attention to learning. Next slide, please. Our teachers, we have about 42 certified teachers at Florence. You can see Florence Elementary, and then again, I put the district average and the state average there. Average years of experience for Florence is just under 11 years. We are below the state and district average of student-to-teacher ratio. And then our teacher turnover is on the low side as well. We only have about 13.7% of teachers who typically leave, which is lower than the district and the state. Next slide, please. This slide's a little difficult to see, but this is a survey given to our staff every 2 years. It's the impact survey. It measures working conditions of our staff, and those are all the categories that staff respond to questions on. But if you look on the far left, or I'm sorry, the far right column, you can see that from our last survey 2 years ago, we've increased in almost every category, which is a good thing. From my perspective, is a good thing. People enjoy working at Florence, I guess, more than they did 2 years ago. So that's a good thing. Next slide, please. Wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some of the upgrades. This is my 4th year as principal. It's my 5th year at Florence Elementary. I was assistant for 1 year. And one of the things when I came in was I wanted to upgrade some of our safety components. So we spent $10,000 on additional cameras around the building. We also spent $14,000 to completely enclose our playground. It was open when I started there. We've closed it to make it safer for students when they're outside on the playground. The whole district upgraded intercom systems across all the buildings in the district, which also includes the ability for teachers to initiate emergency response from anywhere in the building. They can be out in the hallway, they can be on the playground, and they wear a lanyard around their neck, and they can press the emergency button on their lanyard, and it'll send a signal to our front office and initiate a lockdown or another emergency response from wherever they're at in the building. It'll also triangulate their location so we can tell where they are, just in case they're unable to respond. And then some things that I have planned in the future are supplementing our electronically controlled entry door. And then also we're going to invest in some new radios next year for the admin team to be able to respond to things. Next slide, please. All right, and as far as technology, I've upgraded some of that as well. We're slowly but surely replacing our old projectors with interactive view boards, which is basically an enormous TV that is touch interactive, and the teachers can control their computer from the screen in the front of the classroom. We've got desktop replacements for all staff within the last couple of years, and then we are on an annual Chromebook replacement cycle for students. And then again, district-wide, the district has upgraded the telephone system to be safer and more responsive. What else? Next slide, please. I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about our academics. This is some data from the Kentucky Summative Assessment, the KSA test, which is given to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And just a brief counsel on how the accountability formula is set up. Our reading and math scores are worth 51% of our accountability. Science, social studies, and combined writing is worth another 40% of our accountability. And then the progress on our English language proficiency is 5%. And then finally, the quality of school climate and safety survey that students take at the beginning of the test is worth 4% of our overall score. Last year, Florence Elementary was an orange school, and you can see the 4 main categories down there on the bottom: the reading and mathematics, the science, social studies, and combined writing, the English language progress, which, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the things we're most proud of, and then the quality of school climate and safety survey. So that shows you the colors of each of our categories and our accountability in each category. Next slide, please. Okay, this shows the KSA broken down by percentages. Students score one of 4 levels on each of the tests in KSA. It's either novice, apprentice, proficient, or distinguished. In the second column from the left, I put the proficiency is simply measured by adding the distinguished and proficient students. So Florence's proficiency in reading last year was 44% of our students were proficient, compared to the Boone County School District is 58% overall, and the state of Kentucky is 49% overall. So you can see those figures for math, science, social studies, and combined writing, compared to Boone County as a whole and also compared to the state of Kentucky. So that shows you what areas we have to work on, and we've put some initiatives in place in our school improvement plan to try to address some of those areas. The major goal of our school improvement plan is to get some of those novice numbers down, because there's some work to be done there for sure. So we're focusing on those lowest performing of our learners. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's the last slide I had with council, but I did add a couple more slides that I'm just going to kind of go off the cuff here. One of the things that I'm proud of here recently is our spring benchmark scores. Our kindergartners scored 54%, their growth was 54% compared to other students nationally. So other students that take the same test nationally, they scored better than 54% of them in reading, and then 56% in math. So, and then first grade was 60% in reading and 67% in math. Second grade was 57% reading, 69% in math. Third grade was 40% in reading and 49% in math. Fourth grade was 70%, better than 70% of national students in reading and better than 53% of national students in math. And then finally, fifth grade was better than 58% of students nationally in reading and 68% of students nationally in math. So I'm excited about those numbers because they bode well for the KSA results in the future. It shows that our students are performing above the 50th percentile, so better than most of the schools and the students across the nation on this same test. I also wanted to point out some recent award winners that we've had on our staff. Our Family Resource Coordinator, Lindsay Chappell, who was also a student at Florence at one point. She recently won the Extraordinary Service Award from the Northern Kentucky Education Council. She's also won the Boone County Break the Mold Award in the last couple of years. One of our fifth grade teachers, Taylor Paget, also won a Golden Apple for Excellence in Teaching Award from the Northern Kentucky Education Council. And then our SRO, Chris Combs, won the Boone County Break the Mold Award a couple of years ago as well. I also want to highlight some of our family and community engagement events that we have. We work hard to schedule at least one PTO event every month, and then also one Family Resource Center event every month. As a Title I school, we are obligated to provide some kind of family engagement, but also I think it's important to do that to continue building that community and that sense of tradition that I mentioned is so important to Florence Elementary at the beginning. So this year we've done things. We have a literacy night every year where we have different booths and different performers and things for students to do related to literacy. We had a family math night, which was our family math grocery night at Florence Elementary. So we set up like a grocery store and had students go through and do some budgeting and some shopping and that kind of thing. Our PTO has sponsored a color run this year that was very popular with students and families. They sponsor several different dances throughout the year that are very popular with students and families. So every month we have at least one event for our PTO and one event for our Family Resource Center. And then that brings me to the end of my presentation, which I want to make sure I extend an invitation to any members of council who would like to visit Florence Elementary for either one of our family community events, or if you just want to stop by for a tour of the building, you can reach out by emailing me or calling the school and setting up a tour. I'd be happy to host you. Okay. Any questions from council?
Anyone have any questions? Angie?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say I attended Florence Elementary, and 3 of my children, and 1 of my children is currently in kindergarten. So we absolutely love Florence Elementary.
Great, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Anyone else? Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. All right, I
Appreciate-
very much appreciate your time.
Appreciate the update.
Thank you again.
Next on our agenda is Kevin Costello from the Boone County Planning Commission, and he's going to present their budget.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. It's my annual visit to the city of Florence regarding the budget request. As you know, the Planning Commission is in the process of finding someone to replace me. So I have 2 more months, so I love going to budget meetings. That's my favorite. My wife once told me, she said, when you pass away on your gravestone, it's going to say, gone to another meeting. So, but anyway, I'm here to, certainly to answer any questions, but I'll give you a quick overview. What we normally do is we send you a packet of information. It consists of a lot of data, a lot of things that we, numbers of reviews that and see what the trend is. And it's an unusual time right now because we do see some development. People think we're growing astronomically, but we're not. The numbers are much lower. For example, in the heyday, we were getting 1,500 new single-family homes a month. 1,500. But now we're averaging about 400 new single-family homes. So the numbers are down for single-family. So that's why you're kind of seeing other products being built, whether they be apartments or condominiums or some patio homes, those types of things. And as you know, our population's changing. We're getting older, wiser. And the biggest change, probably the last 5 to 10 years, has been a lot of senior housing has been built in the community, and there's more coming. So, and there's been other types of development that have come, obviously hotels and recreation, et cetera. But going through the packet, I put it together, kind of explained to you kind of our some trends in terms of population growth, our budget in the past and the current budget, et cetera, and obviously our request. Also, I mentioned the number of reviews. You can see those reviews, historical trends in terms of types of reviews, where by jurisdiction. And again, obviously, Florence is, for the most part, pretty developed out, but you're going through some times of redevelopment, which is very good. And today I did hear about the Gen Z wanting to go back to the mall. So there's a big story on Good Morning America, how the Gen Z population loves the mall. They want to go back to the mall. So hang in there. You just have to hang in there. We know there's a lot of malls that are out there that are closing, but there's opportunities, obviously. What's neat about it is you can work on some very interesting projects on sites that really deserve to be redeveloped because they're not really, they're vacant, they're low production, et cetera. So that's what you're going to see, the trend. Also, there's some things going on with all the road construction around in Florence, providing real good access to the airport with Donaldson Road, Mineola, and also Turfway, which is a very important part. And obviously, we have the Marydale site and all that areas. There's some activity going on in terms of potentially something in the near future for that site. I also put in the packet information about our accomplishments for the current fiscal year and what we plan to do for next fiscal year. Obviously, we finished the update of the comprehensive plan. And an important component of that is to monitor it more closely, as well as show the progress in terms of meeting the goals and objectives. So it makes it a lot easier. So we're also looking at tracking development more closer in terms of uses, land uses, because there's always questions about how many apartments do we have, how many acres of industrial do we have, manufacturing, et cetera. So we're trying to break that down and keep that. And I know the city does some of that on their own, but you're going to see more of that. There's some things, obviously, the zoning update is very important. I know our staff is working with your staff on making some changes. I know in the past year and a half, we've done some text amendments because the state law has changed on certain things, namely for cannabis as well as manufactured housing, et cetera, and we've done that. We're staying on top of that, making sure that those changes are done. We're also experimenting with some 3D modeling, particularly as it relates to new development where you may want to see the impact of a project on a neighboring property or something like that. We've done some testing of some of the sites in question. So you'll probably see a little bit more of that, as well as in staff reports, kind of an update on the land use. I mentioned tracking the number of acres being spent for specific uses. You'll be seeing that starting in June. You'll see the staff report. That information will be in the staff reports for zone changes. So again, going back to the budget, we also describe all the essential services that we provide the city as well as special services. But our budget is about $86,000 more, our overall budget, which is 3.5%. And obviously, the amount of government funding is up 6%, or about a little under $95,000 total. Our total budget is up a bit. Part of that is because of we're spending some time increasing, providing some social media additional information about the zoning update. We expect a lot of interest in that, and so we want to make sure we get the information out to the public. That's what we're doing. So our total government funding is about $1.5 million. In terms of the city of Florence, what we're requesting is it's a $22,000, a little over $22,000 increase overall for that total of $452,487. And again, that's in line with what the fiscal court is projecting for us to receive, as well as the city of Union and the city of Walton proportionally. We don't anticipate any increase in staff. There's some things, I don't know if you're aware that we actually contract out obviously our legal services as well as engineering services, and we may probably contract out some things relating to social media. We don't think there's a need for a full-time person to do that type of work. So that is it, what we're asking from the city of Florence. And the total amount is, and I sent a letter to the mayor, and let me go back to it. There it is. So the full amount I mentioned, $452,487, again with an increase of $22,316.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Costello? Pat?
Kevin?
Yes.
I just want to say thanks for all the years you've been here and everything you've done for the county. How many years have you been there?
Well,
Over 30?
I hate to say this, but when I first started, council had 12 members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to my first meeting, and first the thing I noticed, that they were smoking in the room. Cigarettes.
The mayor
And
was
I
probably
always
smoking from the
remember
podium.
the mayor at the time, I think it was Roger, but he had this big gavel that was like 3 times the size of a normal one. And because they were all chatting, you could never, there were different conversations going on, and then all of a sudden he'd hit it a couple times. But, that was about the time. And obviously, I think I came to a meeting where you were floating bonds for the the hotel there on 42, Wildwood Inn. Because there was a redevelopment, they were building
Okay.
the pool. So that, and I had no idea where that was. Yeah, I just sat in, I guess they're trying to support a local hotel, whatever. But one of the first projects I worked on was the Parkway Corridor Study, which led to the campus and the building of Ewing Boulevard. So, and again, when I moved here, the Turfway interchange wasn't opened yet. And I found a place in Florence. I mean, if you think housing is tough now, it was really tough back then. There was very little available. So, but yeah, I was a Florence resident until I got married, yeah. So, but I've enjoyed it. I've had a great staff, great board members, worked with a lot of good mayors, and a few interesting mayors. I wouldn't say bad, but interesting. 5 judge executives, so, and they're all different. They're all pretty good to work with.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try to stay out of the political climate. That's not what we're here for. We're here for the benefit of the community, so.
Kevin, I'd like to echo that, and just for the 80 years that you've been here, you still have your hair.
It's actually a little over 40. That's correct. Thank you.
So Kevin, it is my pleasure to read a proclamation in your honor today. You worked with my dad when he was on city
correct.
council, so I've known you for a long time. And whereas we are here today to express our appreciation for Kevin Costello, AICP, and honor him for his distinguished career within our community and dedicated service to the residents of Florence and Boone County, and whereas Kevin has served as Executive Director of the Boone County Planning Commission since 1993, providing exceptional leadership during one of the most significant periods of growth in Boone County's history and guiding the community through decades of responsible planning and development. And whereas under his leadership, the Planning Commission implemented numerous transformative initiatives, including 6 comprehensive plan updates. It's a lot. The development of a county-wide geographic information system, the establishment of a historic preservation program, a joint city-county public improvement inspection program, and the successful reorganization of staff to address both short-term and long-term planning needs in one of the nation's fastest-growing counties. And whereas on behalf of the entire city of Florence, in recognition of Kevin Costello's distinguished career and dedication, the city of Florence extends our sincere appreciation as he embarks on a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you.
And we wish him much happiness as he begins this new chapter in his life. Now therefore, I, Julia Abishant, Mayor of the City of Florence, and on behalf of the members of Florence City Council, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2026 as Kevin Costello Day in the City of Florence.
Does that, do I get can I go to a baseball game now?
We'll get
It's
you
actually a
tickets.
beautiful night. You should have the meeting there. It's beautiful right now,
Yeah.
outside. Thank you very much, Mayor.
I'd like to
And
get a photo
council.
with you. And council, if you'd like to come out too, that'd be a nice picture.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next we will move on to a presentation for consideration of Resolution R 26-00-A of the Boone County Planning Commission. It's recommending approval with conditions for request of Steve Burling, the applicant for Bluegrass Backyard Recreations LLC, on behalf of Marshall Land Management LLC, the owner, for a change of concept development plan in a commercial 2 Plan Development Parkway Corridor Study Overlay C2 PD PO zone for an approximate 2.53 acre area located at 7544 Burlington Pike, Florence, Kentucky, and providing that the recommendation is forwarded to the city of Florence, Kentucky. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. On screen, of course, I have the site vicinity map looking at an approximate 2.53 acre site. It's a change of concept plan application to allow the display and sale of outdoor furniture, sheds, play sets, and other poly furniture at the former Bark Park property. Of course, that property fronts on Burlington Pike. It also has frontage on Cardinal Drive. That's an aerial map of the subject site and surrounding area. Property is zoned Commercial 2 Plan Development. It's also part of the Parkway Corridor Study, which was rewritten as the Central Florence Strategic Plan years ago. And what that area recommends is low to moderate turnover commercial uses on the property. That study also discourages car sales and other large open lots with outside storage. You can see some of the adjoining properties are zoned residential, single-family residential housing on Oots Drive, and also Cardinal Drive are zoned suburban residential 2. As far as topography of the site, 920 feet above sea level, kind of in the center of the property. It does fall down to about 900 feet above sea level near the rear property line. Would like to point out on this slide that blue purplish area you're seeing is the existing fence that's on the Bark Park property. As far as the comprehensive plan, you can see the front half of the property is shown as commercial. The back half is shown as single-family residential, up to 4 dwelling units per acre. Of course, this map is approximate. Some pictures taken by the Planning Commission. Of course, the 2 existing buildings out front, which would stay, and a view towards the rear and the fenced area. View east on Burlington Pike, and a view west towards Ewing. This is the concept plan that was submitted. This is the overall view of it. I did do a blow-up just to help show things a little bit better. So the plan shows, of course, the existing parking lot would be retained. There's a single access point. Existing parking would stay, as well as the existing 2 buildings. This is the fenced area I just showed. This concept plan originally showed 21 sheds, garages, or roof structures. It also showed a specific area for swing sets and pavilions. Buildings would range between 8 feet 8 and 12 by 20. Building heights range from 8 feet 4 inches to 11 feet. The applicant indicated they would have deliveries about 2 times per week, winter about 2 customers per day, and spring or summer about 3 to 4 customers per day, so it'd be very low turnover, as recommended by the Central Florence Plan. They also agreed to reinstall anything that was supposed to be planted on the Bark Park. So this was the Bark Park landscaping plan. No residents spoke at the public hearing. In April, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of this application to the city with those 5 conditions shown. The Planning and Zoning Committee met, and we made some changes to those conditions. I'm just going to go over them real quickly. So the first one, the development shall generally be consistent with the revised concept plan that was received on March 17th. That was the one I showed you on screen. Outdoors display shall be limited as follows. First, to the specific fenced area shown on the concept plan. Secondly, inventory quantity shall not exceed a total of 26 cabins, sheds, garages, gazebos, pavilions, and other similar roof structures shall be permitted in the perimeter display area, which surrounds the swing set display and pavilion display area. A total of 4 pavilions and/or gazebo shall be permitted in the pavilion display area. A total of 7 swing sets shall be permitted in the swing set display area. A total of 3 basketball goals and 1 deer blind shall be permitted in the basketball hoops area. The poly furniture area shall be limited to fire pits, chairs, gliders, tables, sets, picnic tables, and other similar outdoor poly furniture which are only single stacked. Next, cabins, sheds, garages, gazebos, pavilions, and other similar roof structures shall be limited to the building dimensions as shown on the concept plan. Play sets, basketball goals, and deer blinds shall be limited to 13 feet in height. Third, the applicant agrees to work with the City of Florence and install a delivery walking pass system inside the outside storage area if mud becomes an issue. The final determination on whether this pass system is needed shall be made by the City of Florence code enforcement officers. Any delivery walking pass system shall comply with Section 3314 of the zoning regulations, and that prohibits things like gravel. It requires hard surfacing or pavers. Number 4, lighting within the outdoor display area, fenced area, shall be limited as follows. Only security lighting on a motion sensor system shall be permitted. The light shall not stay on for more than 30 seconds once activated. No light pole or fixture shall exceed 10 feet in height. All light fixtures shall be directed downwards or inwards towards the subject site. Building mounted signage shall be restricted to the south and east facades of the office building on the east facade of the showroom building. And lastly, the sign area and height of the existing pole sign shall not be increased. So that is what the Planning and Zoning Committee recommended. I put back up the concept plan if anyone has any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Gary or Pat, you have anything to add from Planning and Zoning?
I'll just comment, we were really very concerned about the number of units that could be on that site, the number of buildings that could be there. So I think we came to a good conclusion on the numbers with the property owners or the business owners on what it would be. Again, it's a very low turnover. They have a little bit of leeway in numbers, about a 5 building swing in numbers in case they've sold one and they're waiting for that one to go and the other one arrives. But we'll be watching pretty closely. And they are staying in that, you can see the triangle at the back end of where the buildings are, and that's the area that they'll be staying in. They won't go back any further than that towards the neighbors. That's all.
Very good. Anyone else have any questions or discussion? All right, thank you, Todd. We're going to move on to the next item of discussion, and that is consideration of Resolution R26012-A of the Boone County Planning Commission. It's recommending approval with conditions for a request from Drury Florence LLC, the applicant owner, for a change of concept development plan in a commercial services plan development Parkway Corridor Study C3 PDPO district for an approximate 7.5 acre area located at 7911 and 7915 US 42, including the property having a parcel identification number of 073.00-00-002.20 in Florence, Kentucky, and providing this recommendation is forwarded to the City of Florence. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you again. So the first thing I did with this one is I put up the concept plan that was approved back in 2024 for the Drury. Back at that time, the city permitted a 27.195% building intensity bonus so they could create a 2.05 acre outlot behind the Drury. So the PD zone allows up to a 50% building intensity bonus, but it can only be approved by the legislative body through a concept plan or zoning map amendment process. So again, that building intensity bonus was approved. C3 zoning typically allows 18,000 square feet of building per acre of land, and Drury Plaza Hotel is 113,489 square feet. It's currently on a 4.9569 acre lot. So that is what is in place today. What they're proposing to do is shave off this acre in blue from the Drury lot, so that acreage is approximately 5.3 acres in area. It would become part of Outlot 1, which would be a future development, and that would increase the building intensity bonus from 27.2% to 42.3%, So the only way that could be done was to go back through the concept plan process and have council approve it. So that's, in summary, what the request is. Taking this area in blue, taking it off the Drury lot and adding it to Outlot 1, and we will see that more than likely in the future, Outlot 1. As far as other things, the property zone, commercial services, plan development. It is forecasted for commercial uses in the comprehensive plan. Of course, the area we're talking about is right here on the southeast side of the driveway. Again, it would be added to Outlot 1. As far as the Planning Commission, they voted to approve this with one condition regarding basically providing a connection to Outlot 3 in the future. And that was, same kind of condition was on the last approval for the Drury as well. So the Planning and Zoning Committee is recommending approval of this with the Planning Commission condition, with no changes.
Is there any discussion? Pat or Gary, do you have anything?
I'll just reinforce it still is below the
Density?
building density, yes. It's still below the maximum. It's still 8% less than the maximum allowable. That's all.
Any other discussion? All right, next for your consideration, oh, what did I do? Is consideration of resolution R26015A of the Boone County Planning Commission recommending approval with the conditions for a request of Cornerstone Union LLC, the applicant for Plantation Luxury Flats LLC, for a change of concept development plan in a commercial 2 planned development district for an approximate 3.9 acre area located on the south side of Cavalry Drive between Richmond Road and Weatherington Boulevard, approximately 650 feet west of Weatherington Boulevard, being directly south of the intersection of Express Street with Cavalry Drive, and having a parcel identification number of 062.00-00-131.35. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. Of course, on screen, so facility map again, we're looking at an approximate 3.9 acre site at the intersection of Express Street and Cavalry Drive. You can see the proximity to Erpenbeck Elementary. Of course, an aerial map of the property. Just a clue, I wanted to provide this aerial just that shows the existing tree line on the back up against the plantation point. And of course, that tree line, they would try to preserve as much of that as possible. Little site history, back in 1996, a zoning map amendment was approved for Plantation Point North, as it was called then. The subject site is in Area 9, that was rezoned to Commercial 2 planned development. That concept plan at that time required a 25-foot buffer between all differing land uses. It limited freestanding commercial signage. A condition was added on that specific design guidelines needed to be approved by the Planning Commission. And that was done in 1999, those design guidelines. It required exterior walls to be finished with brick masonry or other masonry units. It did not allow any flat roof buildings or mansard roofs. It required all buildings to have dimensional shingles or dark green shingles. As far as the last approval on this site, it dates back to 2023. Again, it was a change of concept plan request. It showed an 637 square foot building. It was 4 stories tall with a basement. The ground floor was office, retail, and service. The top 3 floors were residential units, 36 2-bedrooms and 12 1-bedrooms. There was 182 parking spaces shown, 2 access points on Cavalry Drive. There's also a little sports court in the back corner of the property which was shown. With that plan, you can see the width of the building, how wide it was. There was also a 55-foot building height shown. So again, that is in place today and technically could be built. So the current plan would allow a 2-story Planet Fitness. It would be 24 hours. The total building square footage is considerably less. It's down at 32,000 885 square feet. There's 223 parking spaces. They are asking for a waiver to increase the parking on site by a little bit. There's 2 access points still shown on Cavalry Drive. As far as the cross sections that were initially submitted to the Planning Commission, it showed the building height at 50 feet to the highest roof element. So it's 5 feet less in height than the last approval. You can see this cross section shows what the view would be from the rear window of the houses in Plantation Point. I believe that's Waverly Drive, through the tree line. These were the specific elevations that were submitted. These later got revised, but it showed the masonry percentage. This is the front of the building. This is the back facing Waverly, so there are no windows or any, transparency on that rear elevation. This was the conceptual landscaping plan that was laid out, show the buffering that would be added or retained in the rear property line. This was the lighting plan that was submitted. It showed 16 light poles in the parking lot. They were 25 feet, but the Planning Commission had a condition requiring them be limited to 20 feet tall. There was 12 wall lights shown. The maximum height shown was 17 feet. As far as the topography, 880 feet above sea level at the rear property line. That's the high spot. It goes down a little bit to 870 near Cavalry Drive. Again, zoning of the property, this area is zoned commercial 2 plan development. The area to the rear is zoned residential plan development. Comp plan show this area forecasted for commercial uses. Just some pictures taken by the Planning Commission so you can see the topography of the lot, the houses on Waverly Drive, the bold office condos, some of the buildings with the roofing that's, required by the current design guidelines. Just more pictures of the area. Of course, this is Starbucks across the street. So this was their original proposal again. They were change that design guideline to have a flat roof. The Planning Commission actually wanted them to follow the design guidelines, and they were going to require this architecture. So that was laid out in the conditions that we received from Boone County Planning Commission. As far as public hearing comments, there was concern about the number of health clubs in the area, peak traffic times between 5 and 7, that the detention area should be fenced. It was noted the previous approval would have allowed restaurants and other retail, which would generate more noise. During the business meeting where the Planning Commission took action, Planet Fitness made the Planning Commission, and also for the record, that they would still like to have the flat roof, and that condition changed. So the Planning Commission approved the project with these 8 conditions, and the Planning and Zoning Committee is recommending some changes to those conditions, and I've outlined the changes in red. So they read as follows. Signage shall meet the minimum requirements of the zoning regulations and the Plantation Point North Concept Development Plan. Signage should be prohibited on the south side of the proposed building, which of course is the rear. The building and rooftop mechanical unit design shall be consistent with the revised elevations and cross-section that were received by the city on May 28, 2026, and I'll show that to you here in 1 second. Number 4, a sidewalk shall be provided from the front of the proposed building to the proposed sidewalk on Cavalry Drive. Next, the proposed development shall meet the requirements of the zoning regulations except for the following specified variations. First, the site may exceed the maximum number of off-street parking spaces by providing no more than 223 spaces. The vehicular use area landscaping, which is the parking lot island, shall be provided as shown on the submitted concept plan. Next, there shall be a decorative metal fence with an opacity of 50% or less around the detention facility. The fence shall be a minimum of 6 feet tall and a maximum of 8 feet tall. Next, the dumpster enclosure shall be constructed with the same materials and color as the principal structure. And lastly, light poles shall not exceed 20 feet in height. So that was the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee. Lastly, before I forget, these were the revised elevations that were submitted to us. So again, they're showing a flat roof. These, if you look real closely, you can see the building mechanical units kind of outlined here, so they're all below the parapet wall. There was an extra decorative roof feature added on the back of the building from the residential view perspective. So that, again, that concludes my presentation as the recommendation of the P and Z committee.
Thank you, Todd. Does anyone have any questions with regard to this? Planning and zoning have anything they want to add?
Yeah, I will add that we had a lot of discussion about this project. Because it is a planned development, we are able to make recommendations to change the building back to the way that it had been originally designed. And I think we have the okay on that, right, Todd?
Yes.
Yes, so the approval came through on that. It had to be approved as well by whoever does that design committee.
Yeah, it's basically a private covenant
Yeah.
that's running with it.
And that's the reason the planning commission put it to the same design specifications that the neighborhood organization would have, and we changed it, they approved it. So they were fine with that. Also, I know this is folks had some concerns about it being a busy area. I think they've really accommodated the parking. There are only 100 parking spaces at the Planet Fitness. It's on Mall Road, and it is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the highest performing Planet Fitness in the country. So we are accommodating traffic, parking for that site. I think additionally, one of the discussions that we had was there are a lot of folks in that area that will want to go to this facility rather than going all the way to Mall Road. There's that many people in the area that take advantage of that particular gym.
Any other comments? All right, thank you, Todd. Next item for discussion is board appointments. You did receive a memo regarding the reappointments of James Johnson and Bill Sharp to the Code Enforcement Board. And do we have any questions or concerns about that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, where does he reside?
He lives on the east side of town, Manderley area.
What is it?
Next, we have for your consideration Linda Schaefer on the Florence Board of Adjustments. Her term will expire June 30th. She has agreed to serve another term. We have several newer members on that committee. Mr. Judd was appointed to the Planning Commission, so he left that spot. As well, we had some other turnover. So having Linda on there as an attorney, real estate attorney, I think provides some continuity. Linda was a former Florence City Council member. I know she does not live in the city at this time, but her experience has been invaluable on this committee. So is there any other comments? All right, and then we have some appointments to OKI, the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments. The current appointment is for let's see, Tom Gagnon and Joe Newton will serve as the alternate. So we are going to change that appointment to Amy Stewart, who is our Transportation Improvement District Program Manager, and we will keep Joe Newton as the alternate. So is there any questions regarding those appointments? All right. Next, we have Budget Amendment Number 2 for fiscal year 2025-26, and that is Mr. Lewis.
All right, we have 5 items to discuss here. I'll go through each one of them real quick, and then I'll take any questions if anybody has any. So, AMJ quarter, April, May, June is our busiest one in the Finance Department front office. We had a regrettable resignation due to a health emergency with one of our most critical clerks. So in order to keep everything going during our busy time. We felt like we needed to bring in a temporary employee, so we need to up the temporary employee budget within the admin department. And then the water and sewer admin budget will absorb the offset. So the way we have that clerk who left set up is that his salary and benefits were allocated to the water and sewer admin budget. So we'll offset there. This is sort of the key one. We need to increase the miscellaneous budget within the administration department. The revenue diversion which occurred over the last couple years, we owe back taxes to the state for sales and use that was not paid starting in January of 2023. So right now my accountants are calculating the exact dollar amount to the penny that we owe to the state. This is something that we brought to the State Department of Revenue on our own. We volunteered this to them and came forward. We met with them about a month and a half ago, and we confirmed with the Department of Revenue that we owe these taxes. So we will get that paid before the end of this fiscal year. Moving on to the Health and Dental Insurance Fund. So we had a significant stop loss, what's called a stop loss reimbursement. Within the budget, it's called a reinsurance reimbursement. It's the same thing. A stop loss reimbursement occurs when a high claimant crosses a certain threshold in claims. So from fiscal year 25, we had a handful of those. So we received around $800,000 from our stop loss carrier in July of this fiscal year. So we want to account for that in the revenue side of the health insurance fund. On the expenditure side, we're increasing a number of line items here. We meet quarterly with MedBen and Cheryl Morgan, who run our health insurance program for our employees. We see this and we discuss this at length during the budget retreat, but we know that there are changes to be made with our health insurance for our city employees, and we're on track for another high expenditure year. That's due to increased pharmacy costs, prescription drug costs, high claimants, and our HR director Laura will come over here and stop me if I go too far with anything. But I think that's sort of a high level what we're experiencing as a city, and we see that within our costs on the expense side within our health and dental insurance fund. And then finally, due to a number of water and sewer projects coming online, we're increasing our annual depreciation allocation. So those are the five items there for budget amendment number 2 for this current fiscal year.
Is there any discussion with regard to budget amendment number 2? All right, thank you. Next item is the mayor's budget address. And unfortunately, it's a little lengthy, so try to be comprehensive about, we're proposing a very large budget, so we try to reflect what's going on so everybody can stay informed. So good evening, council members, department heads, and members of our Florence community. It is my pleasure to present the annual budget address. This fiscal year 2026-27 budget reflects the city's continued commitment to delivering core services, maintaining infrastructure, and supporting public safety operations at a high level. The proposed budget balances these priorities with a disciplined and forward-looking approach to expenditures and long-term financial planning. Our department heads, Police Chief Jeff Mowry, Fire EMS Chief Rodney Wren, Administration Director Josh Hunt, our Public Services Director Eric Hall, and Finance Director Jason Lewis and their departments are excelling in delivering the level of service that our residents have come to expect. I commend each of them for their leadership and dedication to our community. In addition, our city will continue to prioritize the budget allocations that improve our residents' quality of life. The city has carried out this mission by providing efficient use of taxpayer dollars while lowering taxes and increasing transparency. This can only take place with the ongoing support of the city council members who have also dedicated themselves to delivering top-notch city services in a fiscally conservative manner. It is council's role to adopt the budget, and I know that each of our council members perform their duties with the highest level of diligence and dedication. I want to thank our city council members, Angie Cable, Leslie Chambers, David Schneider, Gary Wynn, and Pat Wingo, and Diane Whalen, for their thoughtful deliberation on this year's budget proposal. I want our residents to know that delivering a balanced budget is of paramount importance not only to me, but also to City Council, and our residents deserve nothing less. The budget process began months prior, with each department developing a forecast for this year's budgetary needs. Those needs were formalized into budget requests, and each department has a baseline budget which we ask our departments to live within. But each year, additional items are requested that undergo scrutiny before they are incorporated as a formal budget request. Those requests were reviewed by administration and then presented to council for consideration at our annual budget workshop, as well as there was presentations concerning our city's revenue projections, fund activities, capital projects, and outside agency requests. Council has been presented with the opportunity to discuss the proposed budget with me through individual meetings if desired. At this public meeting tonight, we present this budget discussion to you, the citizens and stakeholders of our great city. The proposed budget ordinance reflects a collaborative process and partnership between my administration and council. Next step in the approval of the budget will require a first and second reading of the budget ordinance before the budget is officially printed and adopted. This process will take place at our upcoming meetings in June. As Florence continues to develop, we are seeing increased demands across all departments. Over the past 3 years, our operating costs have increased, driven by staffing needs, rising service calls, rising material prices, greater community engagement, and the escalating costs of delivering high-quality services in a modern city. We have added key personnel in public safety, finance, administration, and public services to meet the evolving needs of our residents. Technology costs have also risen as we modernize systems to better serve the public and safeguard our digital infrastructure. As our city continues to grow, we are managing more public inquiries and records requests than ever before, reflecting both the increased public engagement and our ongoing commitment to transparency. For this upcoming fiscal year, total general fund revenues are projected to grow at a healthy 2.4% rate next year, despite additional projected property tax cuts and an insurance premium tax rate reduction, which will go into effect next fiscal year. The city's largest tax revenue, the payroll tax, is also expected to grow, but at a slower rate, a 1% rate, as hiring growth shows signs of slowing. The city's payroll tax per city ordinance builds our infrastructure fund as 15% of collected payroll taxes go straight into that fund. Payroll taxes constitute 40% of general fund revenues, and our Florence businesses and their employees continue to be the engine which drives the ability to fund our full-service city. This year's budget, however, required our city department heads to not only meet traditional demands of our city operations, but it required us to seek a thorough and complete analysis of our internal operations, financial controls, and safeguards to ensure public trust and confidence. A review of our city finances confirms that we are in an excellent financial position. Our investments are performing well, and our reserves continue to remain healthy. Despite our sound current financial position, our city has been faced with a significant challenge as we navigate through the complexities of the discovery of revenue diversion. This diversion of general fund revenue from a defined revenue source within our budget was identified in 2025. It lasted for over 3 years, and it began before my time as mayor. This crime remains under federal investigation, and I am committed to ensuring justice is served and accountability is not to be avoided by any party involved. Financial misconduct is a painful situation. For myself and my staff, it has reinforced the need for additional staffing, strengthened oversight, enhanced accountability, and more robust internal controls across the organization. Accordingly, the budget includes focused operational investments to address control gaps identified first by my team internally and then validated by 2 different independent auditing firms. These investments span structural, procedural, staffing, and technology improvements designed to strengthen financial controls, improve transparency, and reinforce public confidence in the city's financial operations. While these investments carry a cost, the cost of inaction would be significantly greater. Although certain audit and investigative materials remain limited due to the ongoing federal investigation, the city obtains sufficient financial information to evaluate prior year trends and prepare a responsible and balanced budget for the coming fiscal year. The city also engaged outside professionals to assess risk, internal controls, and operational practices, as I have stated before. Taken together, this budget reflects a balanced approach that addresses those controls while maintaining the core service levels and long-term financial stability. It is based on current data, conservative assumptions, and a continued focus on responsible fiscal management. Since becoming mayor, I focused on several core priorities: provide public safety, maintain infrastructure, stimulate economic development, provide a high quality of life for our residents, all while keeping our taxes low. This year, however, I must highlight an additional priority that will be discussed frequently and has already been during tonight's address, and that is to safeguard revenue streams and provide transparency into the use of taxpayer dollars. Ultimately, this budget addresses the core functions of government and serves as a vehicle to address these 6 priorities. In early 2026, I instructed my finance director, Jason Lewis, to engage an outside auditing firm to conduct the risk assessment. Upon learning of the breakdowns going on for many years, which occurred to allow this revenue diversion to take place, I found it critical to allow an independent third party to confirm procedural, staffing, governance, and oversight gaps previously identified by my staff. Moreover, I sought to validate our proposed solutions to ensure that these control failures are fully addressed, that the remedies are prioritized, and that the failures cannot occur again. In the spring of 2026, a Louisville-based team of auditors from Dean Dorton Public Accounting conducted the controls audit and risk assessment. They returned with 30 preliminary findings and observations. These findings directly impact fiscal year 26-27 budget were addressed at the budget retreat last month and are included in the budget I present to you tonight. But before I share the report's conclusions, I want to reiterate my commitment to transparency by clearly stating that all findings will be published once the FBI investigation is complete. Reading verbatim from the report's executive summary, Dean Dorton quotes, "Observed an organization with good intent and strong commitment to serving the community." Additionally, many of the observations share common themes, including limited segregation of duties, reliance on a small number of key individuals, informal or undocumented processes, and gaps in consistent monitoring and oversight. The root of these themes is traced back many years, and it is my commitment as mayor that each systemic failure will be addressed. Dean Dorton's key takeaway from its engagement with the city is that the observations in this report reflect an organization that continues to meet operational demands through experience, dedication, and judgment of its staff and management, while formal controls, documentation, and oversight mechanisms have not fully evolved at the same pace as the city's growth and complexity. With their recommendations in hand, we will evolve and grow as an organization and keep pace with our vibrant and growing city. I want to change gears and share some good news. As I stated earlier, projected revenues for the general fund are up 2.4% versus last year. Again, that projection includes the insurance premium tax reduction passed this spring. It also assumes additional property tax cuts for residents and businesses that we anticipate will be passed this summer. Our business community tax base continues to grow, and I am proud of our economic development team who does tremendous work in bringing new businesses each year. Although payroll tax growth may slow a bit next year, we do foresee a drastic impact on the city's bottom line from elevated inflation levels and slower hiring in the broader economy. Our revenue projection also considers increased interest earned by our city's investment portfolio. In August of 2025, my finance director, Jason Lewis, led an effort to invest over $70 million of the city's reserves. This investment portfolio restructuring served to both further safeguard the city's assets as well as earn incremental interest revenue. This additional income can then be used to fund city projects such as the general fund, park projects, or infrastructure fund street projects, to name a few examples. And we as a city will do everything in our power to ensure that the city is made whole from that revenue diversion, which occurred over the last 3.5 years. We'll pursue insurance claims, civil suits, and other means, and I've directed my staff to pursue every avenue of restitution for the monetary and reputational damage that has been done to the city of Florence. In terms of expenses, our finance team, with the help of our new external auditing firm, Barnes Denning, initiated a significant budget restructuring to accurately array the city's capital and expense budget. This restructuring of capital expense accounts will allow for more actionable comparisons to previous year budgets and higher level of transparency for our citizens. Overall, I present to you tonight a general fund operating budget which responsibly funds all city departments. I also like to point out that capital requests are down significantly from previous year due to completion of large multi-year projects, such as the Boone County Veterans Memorial and Fire Base 34. The final high-level budget point I'd like to make is that with the help of our external auditors, the Finance Department has proposed 3 important structural changes which will better align our departments and funds to shift budgetary needs. First, we plan to separate our IT budget from the larger administration budget. This change enables tighter technology spend tracking and increases overall accountability on a $2.6 million IT budget. Second, we are creating a rentals fund account to account for the business-type activities that take place at our city's park shelters, the Nature Park Event Center, our gathering house, and the ball fields when they come online at Lincoln Woods. And finally, the creation of an opioid abatement fund. This will house national and state settlement dollars that we've already received and will continue to receive from opioid manufacturers and distributors due to the federal lawsuit. Once this special revenue fund is set up in July, we plan to utilize third-party administrators to allocate these settlement dollars to Florence residents who are going through opioid treatment and remediation programs in our community. I am keenly aware of the tragic opioid addiction crisis in our community and country. With over $1 million in settlement dollars received to date, the city can make a big impact in our residents' lives who are struggling with drug addiction and recovery. As I would like to talk about the compensation and benefits for our employees. Many of you may know that each year the city implements a cost of living adjustment called a COLA for our employees. It is in one of our ordinances that we will base it on the February Consumer Price Index with no less than a 2% COLA for our employees each year. For February, the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculated a 2.4% CPI, which is close to the Federal Reserve Board's inflation target of 2%. However, the 2 months since then have been significantly higher as gas prices and other effects from the war against Iran have hit. For council and mayor salaries, we receive also per ordinance the rubber dollar of allowance per KRS as our COLA, which came in at 2.7%. Many of you may not be aware that Kentucky State Legislature passed Senate Bill 10 during the regular session in 2025. This bill, which takes effect July 1st, increases employee health insurance contributions to offset the impact of rising health insurance costs for the county employee retirement system through the Kentucky Public Pension Authority. Many of our city's longest tenured employees and hazardous employees, such as our police and firefighters, are affected by this change. With that context in mind, I directed my staff to generate some options for how to best deal with the impact of rising inflation. The first option would be to follow our standard ordinance with the mandated COLA. In our case, we would follow the 2.4% for February. However, this would not ensure that all employees received the 2% or the 2.4%, as 2% of the COLA would be mandated by Senate Bill 10 to go towards their health insurance contribution. The second option would be to impose a 4% cost of living adjustment on the existing pay plan. This option would come at significantly higher costs to the city, but it would ensure that every employee is guaranteed at least a minimum 2% COLA in July, which would be consistent with our ordinance. With these two options in mind, I directed staff to propose a middle path, which would achieve longstanding retention priorities as well as save the city money. We landed on option 3, which represents the first new pay plan for the city since 2016 and aligns with the city's norm of introducing new pay plans every 5 to 6 years, going back all the way to 2010. The proposed pay plan incorporates the 2.4% COLA as well as lengthened steps or incremental raises for entry-level pay grades such as firefighter EMTs, police officers, and field technicians. When our HR director conducted an employee survey in 2025, additional steps in these entry-level pay grades were found to be the top-ranked survey finding requested of our first responders. So I'm excited to say that we are meeting our commitment to be responsive to our employees and considering the survey results while also being mindful of the overall fiscal impact a new pay plan will have on the city budget. This third option accomplishes both of those priorities. Before I dive into department-specific budgets, I'm excited to announce that with council's approval, the city will recognize Veterans Day as a paid holiday for city employees in fiscal year 2027. There were some questions this past year about why we were meeting on Veterans Day. Veterans Day currently is not a holiday for City of Florence employees. It is a regularly scheduled workday. With this change, we will bring the overall tally of paid holidays to 14, and this is in line with Boone County Fiscal Court's recognition of Veterans Day as a paid holiday. Veterans are the backbone of our community, and as a daughter of a veteran, I want to reiterate my deep commitment to this special group of individuals who have given so much to keep Florence safe and secure. Starting with the Florence Police Department budget led by Jeff Mowry, for department-specific budget requests, the police department faces exciting opportunities in the next fiscal year, along with an important budgetary challenge. Starting with the good news, the department will add 3 more officers to its force for the 5th year in a row. As mayor, I take tremendous pride in requesting resources from council to grow the size of our department so that we can move incrementally closer to fully supporting our city's daytime population with adequately staffed first responder team that meets national standards for numbers of police officers per resident. Additionally, we will equip those new officers and all officers with the state-of-the-art Axon tasers. This capital request outfits each uniformed member of the department with the top-of-the-line multi-shot tasers, as the current 2-shot model the department is used is being phased out by the manufacturer. This advanced technology these Axon tasers employ will save lives. And I am proud to say that our city police department is the best trained and equipped municipal department in Northern Kentucky. The biggest budgetary challenge that Chief Mowry and the department may face, however, is the elimination of a grant funding to PSCC. The Boone County Public Safety Communications Center, or 911, is currently housed right here in the basement of the Florence Government Center. It will be moving to a new home in Burlington next fall, which is good news for Florence and Boone County, as PSCC's capacity will be able to grow and respond even more quickly to emergencies. Unfortunately, that move comes at the same time a key grant revenue stream is drying up, which funds our computer-aided dispatch, or CAD systems, in each Florence police cruiser or ambulance. While our fire department is not affected as dramatically by this funding evaporation, our police department will likely need to replace the current CAD systems in all Florence police vehicles next fiscal year. This refitting will come at a steep cost, and the department's budget plans for this scenario. Staying in public safety, which is priority number one for me as mayor, our fire department is looking to maintain the momentum in this coming fiscal year with the completion of Fire Base 34 last fiscal year and the addition of 12 firefighters in this current fiscal year. To do that, the department led by Chief Rodney Wren will add a paramedic lieutenant position next spring to lead the growing paramedic ranks within the EMS team. Approximately 80% of all activity in the Florence Fire EMS Department is EMS related. The fire department budget will allocate funds to fit its ambulance fleet to create safer narcotic storage and replace aging load systems. In public services, Director Eric Hall has learned a thing or two about projects in his 20-plus year career with the city. In his department, the theme of project management and project completion continues apace this coming fiscal year. Year 2 of the Parks Master Plan Phase 1, a proposed aquatic center master plan Phase 1, and government center redesign represent a few of his team's main priorities. The public services budget also allocates funds for vehicle replacements, maintenance facility renovations, and new technology for project management software. Reaching back to my second priority is infrastructure. The proposed budget allocates municipal aid road funds, or MARF, to a street and bike path mill and overlay on Weatherington Boulevard. The infrastructure fund budget proposes an almost $3 million project to replace Ooch Drive, to overlay Coretta and install a new sidewalk there. In terms of water and sewer infrastructure, the proposed budget funds over $2.5 million in infrastructure repairs, as well as significant investment in AI and predictive water and sewer technologies, which can detect outages and failures before they happen. With these technologies in place, our water and sewer departments can better plan for infrastructure replacement inevitabilities, which helps my finance team invest resources to fund those replacements accordingly. Infrastructure projects continue to be a key theme in our city. Projects budget as the $1.75 million in funds allocated in last year's budget to the Mall Road Connector project are rolled over into fiscal year 26-27. Overall, the city project budget is down over 80% as we continue to focus on project completion. I want to say loudly and clearly here that there are likely big and exciting projects on the horizon for the city as we continue to press our advantage in the Mall Road corridor. We hope to have exciting news for our residents during the next 2 years regarding the Florence Mall. In the meantime, my administration will prioritize completing as many projects as possible before tackling even bigger developments within the city. Along with a similar line of completing our obligations and setting the stage for what comes next, the city will make its final debt service obligation payments next year for its 2015 Government Center General Obligation Bonds. This city pays its debt, makes our creditors whole. That is the key tenet of responsible government. And as mayor, I take our debt obligations incredibly seriously. Making the final payments on this specific liability will position the city to invest in large-scale projects to drive progress. Continued business growth and economic development will enable continued lowering of taxes and fund major infrastructure and public safety investment for years to come. With additional economic growth comes a need for more capacity to collect the increased payroll, occupational, and insurance premium taxes. The goal for any city is to lower taxes for individual residents and businesses while growing the overall pie of revenue from which to draw. I see that goal as an achievable one. In fact, in my administration, we have lowered property taxes now for 2 years in a row, and we have lowered the insurance premium tax. And I do predict that we will once again, lower property taxes in the fall. Our finance department will need more personnel to maintain the strict governance and controls needed to ensure safekeeping of city tax dollars. With that in mind, the administration and finance department budget plans to add a fourth finance clerk to its team in the fiscal year 26-27. Most city revenue is now collected via digital methods. Currently, the information technology budgetary needs for many city services are housed within the larger administration department budget. Next fiscal year, as we alluded to earlier when we talked about setting up the IT fund, the IT budget will be a separate fund to oversee the technology spending, which accounts for about $2.5 million annually. This is servers, routers, switches, internets, computers, etc. They'll all be included in the newly formed IT budget under joint management and ownership from finance and administration. The finance and administration departments will also continue joint budget ownership with our third-party management firms of both the Florence Aquatic Center and the World of Golf facilities. The fiscal year 26-27 budget allocates nearly $2 million in capital improvements to the Aquatic Center. Most of that funding will go to Phase 1 recommendations from the previously aforementioned Aquatic Center Master Plan, which includes shade-related upgrades as well as pump and water treatment improvements for the facility. Troon Golf Management has forecasted a 9% revenue growth projection for the next fiscal year for World of Golf. And maintaining positive net income without the need for general fund transfer on the capital improvement front, the golf course is projected to be adding night golf as a new attraction in the late summer months, which will be an exciting new feature for our residents. I'm proud to put this budget forth for the City Council adoption. It is truly an honor for me to be able to propose that budget that funds public safety, maintains infrastructure, stimulates economic development, and provides a high quality of living for our residents. And I do salute Council for their commitment to keeping taxes low and approving the tax cuts that we have together presented in the past, and I know that we will always consider fiscally conservative spending and wise use of taxpayer dollars. I want to say thank you. Thank you to Council, my staff, department heads, every single city employee, and to the Florence residents. This city is a special one, and I'm proud to be a lifelong resident. And I know that Council is proud to represent their city as well. I thank them and commend them for their dedication in listening to this budget address and their willingness to pass this budget. I also want to thank my family, my son Brady, who just graduated from high school a few weeks ago. I could not be more prouder. And thank you to my husband, Pat, who's been with me every step of the way. I feel blessed to live in the city of Florence. May God continue to bless all the families that call Florence home. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Jason Lewis for the preliminary budget proposal for fiscal year 26-27.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for your budget address this evening. I don't really have anything to highlight here that's different from what we've discussed at the budget retreat, so I'm happy to take any follow-on questions from council.
Anyone have any questions? I think we outlined pretty much everything in the budget address, so if there is any questions, please reach out to Jason. Next, we will have discussion on the amendments to job descriptions, authorized positions, and the pay plan. Mr. Hunt?
So most of these are within Jason's department. Laura did a very good job of, well, that's on the personnel policy. So on the job descriptions, these are all laid out. Very minor changes for most of them. Most of them it is who you're reporting to. And I believe everybody got the version that showed what was changed. So minor changes through and through. Jason, do you want to talk? I guess we kind of already touched on the authorized pay plan, the COLA increases. You went into that in depth in your speech. We can touch on it again?
Yeah, real quick on the job description changes, a lot A lot of the changes have to do with segregation of duties within the finance department. That's something that Dean Dorton, ourselves, we've highlighted as a risk area. So these new reporting structure within the department, as well as updated job descriptions, adding internal auditor to our staff accountant job description, things like that. It's really all about governance, controls, segregation of duties, things that frankly we hadn't been doing that we need to do. So these are necessary changes.
Any other discussion on job descriptions? And I guess you kind of touched on authorized positions at the same
Yeah, I mean,
time.
that was covered within your speech
Yeah.
pretty well. We went to COLA, the Senate Bill
pay
10
plan.
changes.
Any other discussion on that? All right, next we will have the personnel policy amendments discussion. Mr. Hunt.
So I do have Laura here if anybody has technical questions, but I thought she did a very excellent job of taking this great big document, and she laid out a memo of all the different policy changes. As you can see, most of this is probably federally mandated or state mandated. She goes through and talks about all the changes to equal employment opportunities, ADA, harassment and complaint procedures, Kentucky Pregnant Workers Act. There was quite a few things on that. Some changes to introductory period, promotions, grievance procedures. So it's all laid out here, and I won't pretend to be able to answer half of this. So if you have questions, we can have Laura, who has sat through this whole meeting for this point in time, to answer those. So if anybody has any questions, happy to have her come up and answer those.
Or as our HR director, so,
Yes.
for our viewing public. Ms. Wingo.
Yeah, I will just say thank you, Laura. I know this is a lot of work, a lot of detail went into it. And quite a bit of the changes in here are mandated changes that are required by federal law. But a lot of the things in here just make it a little more readable, understandable. I think it's a little bit easier for employees. But I know it's a lot of time-consuming work going through page by page of this document.
Her attention
Thank
to
you.
detail is huge.
Yes.
This stuff is very technical, so.
All right, any other discussion on personnel policy? All right, next we have MARF. Eric, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. So each year, what we do with the MARF fund, which is the Municipal Aid Road Fund, those are funds that are allocated, that's your motor fuel tax. So there's a certain amount of funding each year that's available, and there is a formula in which they look at the city population divided by the state population, and then that's the chunk of money that you get. So what I like to do each year is kind of report to council and those in attendance and watching where we're going to spend those funds. So it's broken up into primarily two major sections. The first one being the transportation funds that my staff, this is in-house work, the streets they're going to be working on every day for the next fiscal year. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know what those streets are. First one is Sanders Drive, Old Hopeful Road. We've got 8 streets in the Tamarack area, Cypress Lane, Evergreen Drive, Grand Fir Court, Hemlock Court, Juniper Lane, Larch Court, Red Cedar Court, and Tamarack Drive. And then we also have 2 streets in the Algiers area, one being Algiers Street and Carnival Court. It will also be on Bowman Way and Terrace Court, as well as Beam Boulevard, Pat Day Drive, Charles R. Callan Drive. Also on La Cresta Drive and Sycamore Drive. And finally, the last 2 streets are Meadow Lane and Orchard Drive. So my staff will be on 21 streets next fiscal year doing base repairs, replacing concrete, replacing curbs, doing things of that nature, which we do always prior to when we bring a contractor in to generally overlay those streets. So we go in, we take care of the worst stuff. We found that we can save a lot of money by not contracting those services out and doing those in-house. So that's just one way that my staff can contribute and keep costs down. The next one is for contracted work. We have $290,000 allocated in this particular line item. and it'll be on 4 different streets. We actually have more than that, 290 for these first 3, and then we have a special project that is more than that. So the 3 for the 290, and these are off Weatherington, or 2 of them are, Gettysburg Lane and Planters Trail, and then Russell Street. So those will be mill and overlay projects. And then we've got a big project, which is going to be all of Weatherington Boulevard, which is almost $750,000 project. So that's a mill and overlay project as well. So that is how the MARF funds will be spent in the upcoming fiscal year.
All right, council have any questions? All right, next for the mayor's report, city offices will be closed on Friday, June 19th in observance of Juneteenth. Mr. Hunt, did you have something?
Oh, no, I was making a funny face at Melissa. We've got it, we're gonna, okay.
We'll get to it, yeah. Me and Melissa have been, like, you'll see why we've been plotting to this meeting. Mark your calendars for our Independence Day celebration on Friday, July 3rd at Thomas More Stadium, home of the Florence Y'alls. Enjoy an evening of family fun. Patriotic Spirit featuring headliner Rusty Griswold's. Performances by the Florence Community Band, beginning at 5:30. A Kids Zone, a spectacular fireworks display at 10 p.m. by Rozzy Fireworks. Gates open at 5 p.m. as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary together. And in the event of inclement weather, the fireworks rain date will be Saturday, July 4th, and it'll just be fireworks only on that day. For additional information, you can always contact the Administration Department at 859-647-8177. Join me for cookies and conversations with the mayor on Thursday, July 9th from 2 to 3. This informal gathering over lemonade and cookies is a great opportunity to ask questions, share ideas, and just connect with other fellow residents as well as city departments. I do want to recognize we do have some of our volunteers in policing tonight in our audience, so thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. And they do a great job. If people don't know what our volunteers in policing do, they are really the backbone of our volunteers for the city. They are at every parade and every youth and government night and every national night out, and they work tirelessly to represent our police department, and they do a great job. So kudos to them, and thank you for being here. I do also want to recognize our fire district board members who are in attendance tonight. We have Mr. Robert Aseo as the chairman and Ian Addington as well. Thank you. I pop in at their meetings regularly, so they're returning the favor, so I appreciate that. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. The Fire District Board, for those of you who don't know, it's about a 10-square-mile area. They contract with us, and we provide their fire service through our fire and EMS department, and they do contribute to those costs and proportionately to their residents, and we thank them for that partnership. It really has been a wonderful partnership, allowing us to really be the premier leader of fire and EMS service in Northern Kentucky and really the state, I would argue. Next, we have a special announcement, I think. Are we ready? We are pleased to announce that the city of Florence was considered, there was 2,700 businesses that were eligible to become a top workplace in 2026 by the Cincinnati Enquirer and Cincinnati.com, and the city of Florence was recognized as a top workplace in Cincinnati region for 2026, and kudos to all of our employees. They are the ones who create the culture, and kudos to the city council for funding everything that needs to be funded for departments that allow them to have the training and the equipment and everything that they need to succeed. Congratulations to our city, and let's give us a round of applause. Is there any council member who desires recognition? Any department heads? Anyone in the audience? Come to the podium, please. One of these days, we're going to get a roving mic, and we're going to bring it to you. I think we need to do that, Melissa. Can we work on that? Because he likes to come to our podium, and we don't want to have to make you,
Not a problem. You know, keeps me strong.
okay,
I want to live to be into my 90s. So,
you will be.
you know, I go to the Y 3 times a week for a couple hours. Burlington Y is just fantastic.
Great.
Just fantastic. Well, anyway, the last time I came before you, we talked about the ICE detention centers, and your response, at least my interpretation of that, was that you wanted to do local business rather than get involved in broader categories of interest, and that you also couldn't interfere with what a private seller had to do with a private buyer. And I respect those two things. And but tonight, I want to talk about a couple things which I think are local, and they may have to do with zoning. I'm not quite sure, but I believe they are. And I was pleased to see that Kevin Costello said that the Planning Commission and you all were working toward that. I think that the city of Florence should anticipate that an AI center could be located within the city. Florence is a prime location for some land, empty warehouses. We have plenty of water and energy. And without these kinds of regulations, whether it's zoning or something else, it's going to play havoc with our community. And I love Florence. As I mentioned last time, I've had a business on Main Street for 19 years. I also owned the travel agency in the Florence Mall called International Tours and Cruises down by a lower level of Pennies before the mall decided to kick independent businesses out. Now look at them. Anyway, at least my purpose is for you to anticipate the possibility of an AI data center being established within the city limits. I request the city do the following. 1, place in your zoning code a definition of data centers. 2, require all data centers pay all expenses that they would need for electric, water, and sewer. 3, identify limited areas where data centers could go where industrial growth may increase. My point is, your authority to protect our community lies within the zoning code or some other similar mechanism. And that code should have specific clarity where data centers should be allowed and under what conditions they should be allowed within the city of Florence. Sorry, I lived in Cincinnati for 41 years. As a side note, if you doubt that an AI center can be built or can't be built within the city of Florence, you should ask Little Rock, Arkansas, Montgomery, Tennessee, and Carson, Texas. All those have been enormous demonstrations by their residents against data centers. And if you watch anything besides Fox Entertainment, you know that these things are going all over the country. And there's protests all over the country about these. So I sincerely ask you to consider this. And Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Berg, I just want to make sure I understand. Are you because I was a little confused. Are you in support of data centers, or are you opposed to data centers? Or are you saying that data centers should have certain regulations
Well,
if they
my
can?
time, good question.
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Okay. The time was here before, you said we couldn't be involved in anything between private and private. So if a data center wanted to come into Florence and take over one of our vacant warehouses, for instance, there's nothing we could do about it, because they could just buy it from a private, okay? So while I'm personally opposed to it, that's really not the issue. The issue is for you to anticipate what could go wrong if there's not something within the zoning code or some other mechanism.
Okay.
So that residents of Florence and Boone County are not paying additional funds for electric, water, and sewer, because they use a hell of a lot of that stuff. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, I just wasn't sure, but now I understand.
Mayor, I think
Do
we
you
can
ha-
address this real quick. So the good news is, we already do address it. We do have a definition for data centers. In the city of Florence, it's a conditional use. They're not allowed by right in an I-1, I-2 zone. So really what you would be looking at, I've dealt with site selection with data centers before. They look for large industrial complexes, specifically if they have their own substation. From the city's perspective, or at least from somebody that's handled economic development and site selection from the city for years, not a fan because of the jobs per square foot. They just do not generate enough jobs to take up the amount of square footage that is needed within most industrial buildings that they're looking at. So the short answer is, it's already regulated. They're not allowed by right. It would be a conditional use. In order to get that, they would have to meet all those utility requirements that you're talking about. We're very protective over use categories that, in our mind, don't generate the highest and best use for that business or that location to be looking to go at. So I have dealt with them, 2 or 3 over the years. Certainly in the newspapers, a lot throughout the country right now. There's a big push going to rural areas, which has led to, they're not used to that kind of development. I can see how it would be more taxing on their utilities. We're very mindful of this, and we are doing a zoning regulation up now. Have we got to that section? We haven't got to that section yet. We'll evaluate it, but for all intents and purposes, we are very protected for data centers within the city of Florence.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
And then, Josh, I know we track vacancy rates. I don't believe we have a high vacancy rate for
In industrial, we're
space.
less than 3%, which when you
Yeah.
compare that to the nation is super low. There is one site that all the data centers want within the city, and I think we've been pretty successful at fending those off, just because we know that's not the highest and best use. But they have a right to apply, and we never deny anybody the right to apply. But there's a lot of hurdles they have to jump through with utilities. The energy side is really crazy. Water's not an issue. We're very blessed with water in our industrial sector, so that's not a concern, but it's more of the electric service, having redundancy in the feeds, the fiber, things like that. There's a lot that goes into those centers. So we're very well aware of them.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anyone else in the audience? Naomi, would you like to come forward?
Hello. I live on Utz Drive, and as you guys know, I have a very tiny, very low-to-the-ground car, and there is a pothole right outside my driveway, and I know you guys are going to be spending a lot of money to completely redo the street, but the pothole is getting worse. So Eric, I was wondering if you could send somebody
Absolutely.
down. I'm at 62. It's like right between 62 and 63. It's like right between our driveways, and I keep bumping into it. And that is all.
Thank you, Naomi, appreciate it. Anyone else? If not, we need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C, litigation proposed or pending against or on behalf of the city. Is there a motion? Mr. Wynn and Mr. Schneider, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will come back to this room to adjourn and don't anticipate any future business taking place. Thank you.